Welcome to the InitiativeOne Leadership Podcast, where we help leaders maximize their impact and transform their lives. I'm your host, Romeo Marquez Jr., as well as the Chief Growth Officer for InitiativeOne. I'm super excited for this episode because we're going to hear from Regina Woods, a transformation leader at InitiativeOne. She traces back her journey in the world of leadership development and shares the importance of laughter and joy as characteristics for effective leadership. So let's jump right into the conversation with Regina Woods. Regina, thank you so much for joining us today on the InitiativeOne Leadership Podcast. It's a gift and an honor to have you.
I am very excited to be here, Romeo. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's jump right into it. I would love to know your journey on what led you to being a transformation leader at InitiativeOne.
Yes, I worked for an organization of 2,800 people, and InitiativeOne had been a partner with that organization for quite a while. So I was already familiar with the good work that they were doing, both through their leadership processes and interventions. So I had the chance with a couple colleagues to go through the leadership transformation process myself. And I remember sitting there saying, hey, I want to do this. They're onto something here. They're onto something big. How they approached leadership and the process that they took people through, the 13-session process, really resonated with my core values and what I believed about leadership. You know, that leadership is not what we do, our title, our status, our role. It's who we are. And it wasn't a bunch of PowerPoints and talking heads in the room, you know, the sage on the stage thing, which I've been guilty of in my 25-year leadership career. It was really a journey inward and a conversation and a camaraderie amongst, you know, just fellow human beings sitting in the room, getting real, you know, talking about what's important to us, what we value, what our purpose is, and really where we're feeling vulnerable as a leader and how we can support each other. So that really resonated with me. So I decided to come aboard full time.
Awesome. And you being part of leadership development for about 25 years, what attracted you to leadership development?
I think it's easy to fall into what society believes success looks like. You know, that perfect home, that perfect family, you know, the house, the degree, all those things external to us. And I knew leadership was more than that, although that's often what was still being taught. That leadership is really a journey inward. And I have always been about self-development and always had that focus and that love and that passion. So being able to help people remember the beauty within them is, I think, just an absolute gift. So that's what brought me to leadership development.
And as you know, with leadership, there are obstacles and challenges. What is a challenge you faced as a leader, and how did you overcome that challenge?
I would say a former version of me definitely had perfectionism down quite well. You know, depending on the given day or week, my soup cans in my cupboard would be all alphabetized and categorized. All my red shirts in my closet would be hanging together, all my blue shirts next. So I had not realized how limiting that tendency was. You know, based on my lineage, I would say that I came from a family line where perfectionism was really valued and almost revered in terms of control and order. And that's really what perfectionism is, an addiction to control and order. So I had that down really, really well, thinking I was, you know, being really successful in my life. And externally, I was, you know, degrees, the white picket fence, you know, awards, all that kind of stuff. But inside, I wasn't feeling very successful. And, you know, perfectionism was really my way to overcome some of those feelings of inadequacy inside. So how I helped overcome perfectionism was really leaning into the idea of vulnerability and really embracing my imperfections. I went from thinking that I had to earn love and earn acceptance by doing things very well to reframing that very limiting belief to I'm perfectly imperfect. And as simple as that sounds, that was not an easy journey to make, but it was so incredibly liberating, and it freed me up to get in touch with my feelings and connect with others in a way that I hadn't done before, because I always was very guarded trying to portray a certain image. So I would say my journey was from perfectionism to just vulnerability and being real.
Thank you for sharing that. All right. So, with the many companies and organizations you've worked with, what are some common qualities you see in great leaders that create those successful companies and organizations?
I would say a very, very important quality that often doesn't get talked about in leadership realms is laughter. And with laughter, I would say, what's underpinning that is joy. And, that's really about how you navigate the world. What lenses are you looking at others and situations and opportunities through? With joy, it's someone who approaches leadership in life with a skip in their step, if you will. And that's not to say they're not skipping into really challenging situations and that life doesn't get rough, because it sure can. But when we're on purpose, we can bring a levity with us to situations and interactions because we know what's driving us. We know what's motivating us. We know the impact we're having. It helps us stay on course, and it allows us to laugh and really experience the moment and still keep moving forward versus letting adversity and challenges kind of suck the life out of us, bring us into that victim mode. So one of the main qualities that I see in really great leaders in successful companies is that ability to truly be joyful and know who they are and make decisions that are on purpose for them, which helps them navigate challenges much differently.
I love how you connected laughter and joy and aligned that with purpose, because it all, purpose can be broad, but when it's a focused purpose, it encompasses your joy bell, as we like to say, the things that really light you up. So thank you for bringing that up. Laughter, joy, purpose. That's your shirt, Regina. Bam, there you go. All right. So what do you think prevents a good leader from being a great leader?
Well, it's definitely not having the fanciest spreadsheet or the most eloquent speech prepared. It's really what goes on between your ears, that self-belief that we carry, particularly that self-talk. I think great leaders have a level of self-awareness that others don't, in terms of what is that, and I'm going to date myself, what is that cassette tape? And my teenage daughter would say that's cringy to say cassette tape. So I'm going to say, what is that TikTok video playing to keep me more relevant? What is that TikTok video playing that is continually running behind the scenes, under the surface, in our subconscious, that we're not even aware of? That great leaders have that vulnerability to dive below the surface and to get really curious and to understand when there are limiting beliefs in operation, and have that courage to examine them, understand them, and then that power to choose a different way of thinking about themselves. So that good leader to great leader really has that ability to believe that they're enough and continually challenge those gremlins, those automatic negative thoughts that continually come up.
And so, using that cassette tape metaphor, what kind of cassette tape do you think that great leaders are playing despite any challenge or obstacle, or just anything that helps them move forward in their life?
In a very simplistic sense, and this is really the basis of our leadership transformation process, it's a belief. It's truly a belief that I am enough. I am enough, warts and all, at this exact moment, at this exact time, regardless. That they have a level of self-acceptance and self-love that allows them to take risks differently, to interact with others differently, and to really show up differently in the world. I am enough is so powerful that I think it can actually change the world if we're all operating from that place of truly accepting and loving ourselves.
I love it. I am enough. Regina, you are enough. And those that are listening, you too are enough. So thank you for bringing that up. All right. So transformation is about a combination of choosing to make small pivots in how we think, behave, and eventually it alters our outcomes and impact. In your opinion, what are one or two key pivots that impacted your leadership?
I would go back to that idea of perfectly imperfect and just accepting my humanness. That was so incredibly empowering. That gave me a sense of inner peace that I never had before. I always had that inner hustle in me that, I was always reaching and striving and needing to be more. So really embracing our imperfections gives a sense of liberation and inner peace in a way that is so incredibly freeing. It felt like a 50-pound brick lifted off my shoulders when I finally just accepted me for me, warts and all. And I'd say another pivot is really, I think when you lean into yourself and you truly love yourself in that sense, you bring a sense of compassion with you to others, to the world. I can look at you differently. And, we live in such a blame and judgment filled society. If you just look at social media, for example, I'm on LinkedIn. It's supposed to be this professional networking thing. And someone puts out a statement that's really important to them. And then 50 people blast them for that statement. And, it's so easy to fall into judgment. And I think when we're accepting of ourselves, we're much more accepting in others and just loving them right where they are. I have a belief that we all are doing the best we can at any given moment. And when we know better, we can do differently in a sense. So we just interact with others in a much more compassionate way when we're truly believing that we're enough and that we're perfectly imperfect.
I love that you bring up the word compassion. There's a quote by the Dalai Lama that I really love that relates to compassion. And it states, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. So thank you for bringing that up. All right. Last question before I get into the rapid fire Q&A. What is your advice for leaders in organizations that want to take things to the next level?
I would say get curious, like truly get curious and ask people where they're at, how things are going, what's working, where are we getting stuck, what could we do differently? Those are 3 magical questions that I love to ask. What's really working on our team? What should we keep doing? Where are we getting stuck? What's holding us up and why? And what could we be doing different? Like you asked me what those pivots were. And then truly listen. I think we are often so wired to want to fix and solve rather than truly listen, that it's the leaders who truly are curious. And one of my other videos, I talked about really creating an environment where you have an open door policy. A big blinking welcome mat is not truly where it's at. It's that ability to be vulnerable yourself and really, really listen, because your folks, the answers are within your team. It amazes me, even when people come through our leadership transformation process, they expect us to have a magic wand. Oh, could we be rich if we did? But it doesn't work that way. It's creating that environment of psychological safety for the team, so they have that ability to put things on the table in a way that even if they've tried before, now there's true listening and there's true curiosity. And with that comes accelerated decision-making, accelerated problem solving, and true intervention. So I think that ability to get curious brings so much to our leadership and our organization, but that requires us to be vulnerable. We have to feel safe within ourselves to be able to really want to have a very rich, dialogue of discovery, if you will, with others.
I love that. Thank you for sharing all of it. All right. Are you ready, Regina, for this rapid fire Q&A?
Let's do it.
All right. Just answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Here we go. One of your favorite books.
Oh gosh, I love Brene Brown's books, particularly The Gifts of Imperfection. That book cracked the nut open for me to help me understand the true root of my perfectionistic tendencies.
One of your favorite movies.
Doctor Strange. I really believe that we all have superpowers. And if we were all truly embracing them and using them, we would have a whole different kind of world out there.
What is a song that lights you up or brings you joy?
Oddly enough, it's a song called Get Together by the Youngbloods. There's a line in there that says, you hold the key to love and fear all in your trembling hand. One key unlocks them both. It's there for your command. And I believe the opposite of love is fear. And fear can paralyze us as leaders and even as a society. So if you think of that lyric and, you have a key in there, that key can unlock lots of treasures for you if you're truly embracing love over fear.
And speaking of key, what is a key habit you think that helps leaders become great?
Well, for fear of sounding redundant, vulnerability. Truly get curious with yourself and what makes you tick and what's below the surface. And that can unlock unlimited potential in you that has just been simmering, just waiting to come out.
One of your favorite quotes?
The sky isn't the limit, your belief system is. While I don't know who said that brilliant statement, I really don't believe the sky is the limit. Really, how you're feeling about yourself is.
One of the best investments you've made that has helped you in your life's journey?
I would say my journey inward, my own personal healing journey has really helped transform me as a person and as a leader.
If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Oh, gosh. My 2 children, they are very much alive, but, I love and value family so much. So I would definitely be sitting across the table from my 2 kids. And I would invite my grandma. She's 96 and she is just full of wisdom and joy and really flows with life. I think so much of suffering is how we perceive our circumstances and not flowing with life. And I think she just really has that figured out very, very well.
What do you value?
I value moments. I value this moment. And I think if we value and cherish the moments of life, what joy that gives us throughout.
What do you know for sure?
I know that we are one. We are all one. And anything we do has a ripple effect. So let's make our choices be ones that have a really positive ripple effect on others and the world.
What do you want people to remember about you?
I have a strange affinity toward rocks. So if I look like I'm tired hauling my purse around, it's because there's usually rocks in my pockets and in my purse. Sense of humor. I touched base recently with a former colleague who said, boy, we miss laughing in our meetings. So rocks, my sense of humor, and my ability to help people really see their soul, their essence, and their beauty. Because I think we often just forget those really beautiful parts of ourselves.
And any last words to those that are listening?
I would say, let your soul shine. Don't tuck those beautiful parts of yourself away. Bring those out. They are gifts that are meant to be shared with others in the world. So I'm going to encourage you to shine brightly, even in your darkest moments. There is light within the dark. So continue to shine and share those beautiful gifts with the world.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Okay.
That's your gift, Romeo.
Yeah. Oh, first of all, I can't sing whatsoever. I could lip sync. Anyway, thank you for sharing that. And your light here on this podcast interview definitely shined. So that said, I am grateful to connect with you and to know you. So keep shining your light.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for tuning in to the InitiativeOne Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with a friend, family member, or colleague, or leave a rating and review. Also, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so that you can stay up to date for new episodes. And don't forget to sign up for our leadership newsletter for new content along with invites to our live and virtual events. You can go to InitiativeOne.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.